Hey, I'm Sean,
Hi, and I'm Shannon.
and we're the host of Wifey and Baby Mama. Happy Thursday, family. I hope everyone's having a
Yay.
fabulous day. We certainly are, simply because we are here with you again. Oh, and it's about to get better. We have with us
Yes.
tonight our very first guest of the season, Mrs. Lexi is what I call her. I met
Yes.
this young lady years ago. Yes, years ago,
Yes.
and I've watched
Mhm.
her since I've had the pleasure of watching her blossom, boss up. She's an entrepreneur, the latest keynote speaker of the 20th anniversary gala and auction for Erie Niagara AHEC. And most recently, she was amongst an amazing panel of women for the fifth annual Buffalo Fatherhood Initiative Conference. And that's all before the real superhero stuff like my mom, and wife side. So, Lexi, why don't you give the audience the rest of the details that make you so amazing and makes you eligible to speak on blended families and what we
Oh
do
my
for love
gosh.
here?
If you could see me, I'm so ready. Thank you so much, Sean and Shannon, for having me on the podcast.
You're
My
welcome.
Yeah.
name is Alexcia Herod. I'm a wife. We've been married for almost 11 years now, and I
Awesome.
have three wonderful children. I
Mm.
call them the kid, tiny human, and baby, but everybody else knows them as PJ, Mina, and Juju. I'm super excited to be here and talk about my experience being in a blended family. This is pretty cool.
We are so happy to have you.
Oh,
Thank you so much for
and one
coming.
more thing, I have to give y'all kudos and flowers before we jump right into it. But I love y'all podcast. I absolutely love it. I
Ah.
listen to it at work. So anybody else that is listening here, make sure you tune in and make sure you subscribe, like, and all the things so this can reach many, many more millions of people.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Lexi. So, see,
Thank
that's
you.
another
Thank you.
detail I didn't mention about Miss Lexi. She's also the co-host on a local radio station,
Oh
WFO here in
yes.
Buffalo, New York. I believe the roses are on what every fourth Saturday, Lexi?
Every fourth Saturday is the Roses Among Thorns. So myself, Tiana, and Hollis are there along with Bishop. Sometimes we have Bishop and sometimes we don't, but either way, we have a good time.
That's
All
right. That's right.
right.
And yeah, so this is what led to her being a guest on the show. I've had the pleasure and honor on going on the show. They invited me on for an interview. And although we were there to discuss my first published, now Lexi had praises to sing about wife and baby mama Shan. She brought up she brought us up, in conversation many times. So she's a true fan and we thank you, darling. And
Yes,
so
love it.
yeah, yeah, during that dialogue, Lexi had mentioned to me what she experienced, like, and what was near to her heart. So I told her next season, this was the end of season 2 when I was on their show. I said, next season, Lex, we're going to have you on. She's like, oh, just call me. I called, and here she is. So because wife and baby mama like to keep their word, and all of the issues in blended families and families at all are near and dear to us. So we try to ensure all siblings have a fair shake, at being the best people they can be.
Mhm.
So to one another, one from another. Lex, give us your point of view on the subject we kind of discussed briefly. And I said, hold that thought, save it for the show. With the relationship you had with a step sibling.
Okay, so I
Mhm.
have I have a couple of different perspectives. So, my mom and dad, they was it 90s. They got married in 97. So, I gained two extra brothers and a sister. But I do have many siblings on my biological father's side. So, on his side, there's nine of us. So, I'm the oldest, and I believe the youngest is like early 20s, but don't quote me because I can't remember. It's a lot. It's a lot to remember, but I do remember um, being the oldest. So of the blended family, I am the oldest on both sides.
Okay.
So having that sense of responsibility to, one, get to know everybody, and at one point in time, try to bring everybody together. You know, none of us asked to be here, but
Mhm.
you know, thank God that we are here. But I had the joy of of learning about my other siblings, and seeing them in different areas of their life, right? So I have my sister, my biological sister, she's in Atlanta. Shannon and I were talking about it earlier today. And so we have the same mother and father. And then
Okay.
there is a brother in between us. And then there is um, three sisters and then another brother. So two of the sisters are really close in age. And then
Mhm.
there is another sister that she's doing big, big things in New York City. She just, well, not too long ago, she graduated from Syracuse University and she went to law school. She became a lawyer. She passed the bar. Like, she's doing
Awesome.
wonderful, wonderful things. And I'm so
Yeah.
proud of her. And my little sister just got engaged. So that was really cool.
Oh, that
But
Okay.
is.
my other sisters, they're starting their families and, being able to um, still be that big sister and be that support, even though there's such a big gap between us, right? So
Mhm.
I'll be 40 fine, 40 and fine this year. And
Yes.
and my other siblings are still in their 20s, right? So
Mhm.
there's a bit of a gap there, but just because there is a gap doesn't mean that we can't still bond in some way. I
Mhm.
mean, we could bond over
Right.
kids cuz almost all of us are, well, three of the five are moms, so we can talk
Okay.
about, that. My younger sister that lives in Atlanta, she's doing big things down there. She's going to school, she's getting her MSW. She's married to my bro, who I call brother. um,
Mhm.
but still trying to, find that balance between, being a wife, being a mom, being an entrepreneur, holding down a job, doing all those things. It can take a toll on trying to keep everybody together.
Right. Well,
But
Shannon, we can write a book about that, can't
yeah,
Mhm.
but it's
Mhm.
it's something that I really try to do. I mean, I don't make it out to be that I'm perfect at it, because there's times, you get busy and you don't really reach out the way that you
Right.
should. But when you do reach out and I want to make sure that my siblings know that I love them, even if we don't talk or we could be fussing or fighting. I still love you. I
Still
might not
love.
agree with everything that you say because there's such a difference in age in some of
Age.
us.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
may see things differently than how I may see things, but that doesn't mean that I don't love you for you. I mean, your opinions might not line up with my values, but that's okay. Everybody is different, and we
That's
might
right.
have to agree to disagree on some things.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I wanted you to get your dynamic out, Lex. And this is a little unorthodox. I usually say the title at the beginning of the show, but I purposely saved it for right now. The title of this episode is Parents Making Kids Work Overtime. So now with your
Mhm.
dynamics laid out, and I hear how you get along with your siblings and how you try to, reach out as the oldest to keep a connection. Was it any sacrifice? Was it any what I'm trying to say, turbulence or anything to dealing with your other siblings because you guys had different parents? Because that's what I want to touch on a little bit tonight. Was it
Yeah. So.
harder? Because, as kids, we don't get to choose, right? But as
Mhm,
adults,
Mhm.
even if the parents had issues, we can choose to be siblings. Just like I think I'm hearing that from you now that you try to keep some sort of relationship and positivity with all your siblings.
mhm.
So was it a time when your parents made you work overtime when you were older to build a
Mhm.
relationship?
I don't think it was the parents so much.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be careful of how I say this. There were some parties that didn't necessarily agree with all of the children, which is
Okay.
understandable. But that had no bearing on the fact that we're related. I think I felt the
Mhm.
most pressure was from my sister, my well, we have the same mom and dad,
Mhm.
because I wanted to reach out to my other siblings and get to know them. I felt as the oldest, I had that responsibility um, to do that,
Mhm.
and she felt that I was sort of like abandoning her, or was getting rid of her, or pushing her to the side, and that really wasn't the case, because her and I have been through quite a bit with my mom and biological father, and the things that they went through. So
Mhm.
when stuff was going down and it was just her and I, and how her and I grew up was totally different between my biological father and his partner and their kids, and then my
Okay.
biological father and the mother of the other children. So
Okay.
One side was like, yes, this is your sister. Y'all need to, get to know each other. Y'all need to have that. And the other side, not so much. So, um, at the time, I was old enough, I was 17, 18. I was able to drive so I can go and see them.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
and I was able to, let them know, hey, you know, I'm your
Lexi, I'm your
sister.
sister.
Yeah, I'm your
Yeah.
sister. If you ever want to talk, here's my number. I think they didn't have cell phones yet, so they had to wait for to use the house phone. And at the
Landline.
time,
Right,
was
right,
it? I think
right.
Rochester still had what was it? Still 585 or 7? I forgot. But I went. It was right around time when the zip code changed, so it was still long distance. But I would try to call, and
Hmm.
and really try to, you know, m- give that reassurance to my sister. Like, listen, they are our siblings as well. Again, we didn't ask to be here, but we're here, and we can make the best of it. And I know now, she's pretty cool with two of them. There's one, it's not so much, but that's something that she has to work on, and the other two have to
Right.
work on. I can only, lead by example. Like I said, I'm not talking to them every day, and we're not, meeting up and having a good time, but
Mhm.
we're spread across the state and across the country, really. So,
Right.
we can certainly text, we can certainly call, but I wanted to try as the oldest to um, spread myself as much as I could and let everybody know that, I'm your sister. I do love you, without trying to make anybody feel alienated. And, sometimes
Mhm.
I fell short of that. But again, you're talking, you know, a teenager, young adult here. You're not
Right.
going to make all the right steps, but at least
Right.
Right.
I
Well,
try.
can I
I
ask
tried.
you? That's right, and that's all we can do. But let me
Mhm.
just ask you this, and you may know the answer or not. Do you
Okay.
think if the parents had you guys together more or introduced you guys, do you think it would have been easier than you guys having to work double back now as a teenager and now build a bond with 17, 18 years past?
In the perfect world, yes. Knowing the parties,
Yeah.
Yeah.
no. Respect, no, it
Okay,
would
Okay.
again.
hey, I get it, cause
Yeah.
like I said, Shannon and I, and that's one of the things you told us that you love. That Well, you told me, and I probably told Shannon when you guys were talking when I was having technical difficulties. But anyways, that's one of the things that you love about this show is the fact that Shannon and I are wifey and baby mama, and she's my homegirl.
Mhm.
She's not,
Mhm.
well, that's your son, your son, mama
R
called. It's not.
Right,
It's never
right.
been that. Even when Jimmy was out of the picture for
Mhm.
numerous years, this is my homie. You
Mhm.
know what I
Hmm.
mean? So
Mhm.
I
Hmm.
think I think what we want people to get out of this show is, and thank God you as a child decided 17, 18, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the one
Right.
to reach out. I think what we want people to get from this episode is, parents, when you come up with these kids, under whatever circumstances, we're not here to judge. They are
Mhm.
siblings. And I
Yeah.
think the easiest way to go is just to make sure they know that, and you leave whatever you have to the side as adults, but make sure these kids always know that they are siblings and they should grow up
Mhm.
together. Because my sisters and brothers were my best friends. I mean, not so much now, Lex, unlike you, but maybe we had too much of each other. But I
Mhm.
think I've expressed it here before. When my mom and dad, got married, my mom had 3 kids, and then my stepdad had 3 kids. And the six of us was thick as thieves. And Shannon, I think when your mom
Mhm.
remarried, one of your stepfathers already had siblings, correct?
Well, no. No,
Well,
grown kids
yeah,
from
grown. Right.
my
Hmm.
second stepfather, because we were all grown when we got the
Okay.
second one. But the first stepfather, no, there weren't any. But my stepmother, on the other hand, um, my father only remarried, the one time, and
Hmm.
was married to my stepmother for almost 45 years before he passed. But she had children,
Okay.
and um, so there wasn't a real push for us to all come together,
Okay.
because we were in South Dakota and they were in Charlotte. But when I
Okay.
did move to Charlotte as a teenager, I pushed in, like it sounds like similar to what
Lexi.
Alexia is saying. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, because I wanted to have the relationship, um and there wasn't, of course, any pushback from my stepmother or my dad for me coming in, elbowing my way into the family, saying, "Here I am, and y'all are
Right.
gonna know me and love me, and I'm gonna know and love you all as well."
As
So,
well. Hmm.
yeah. But it,
What?
it sounds like, Alexia, you're there wasn't any pushback, but there wasn't also any push to form or go above and beyond, and you did that on your own.
Well, my biological father, he like it's his pride and joy to have a lot of children. And he did. So if you ask him, he would tell you, "Oh, I want all my kids to be together and all those things," which is fine. I think it was a lot of dynamics between my biological father and my mom, and my dad's partner, um and myself. So I always went in there sort of guarded with her. Um, and she knew who I was. And because she knew who I was, she
Mhm.
did what she did, and she wasn't always the friendliest person.
So
But that
excuse me, let me ask. So she's the mom to the siblings that you reached out to. Is that what you
she is the mother to three of the siblings that I
Okay.
reached out to, and then there is
Okay.
also another woman who is mother to another three.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
But this one was not so friendly, is
Yeah,
what
she
you're
wasn't
saying.
she wasn't so friendly. She's not my favorite person in the world. I mean, but what she's the mother of my siblings. So, she did
Right.
get that respect from me because,
Okay.
as a mom, I try to at least give that respect. I mean, I didn't always get it back, but I
Right.
mean, it is what it is. But
All
I
we can
wanted
do
to
is our
make sure.
part.
Right, I did my
Mhm.
part, and I mean, I talked to
Right.
my mom about my other siblings and stuff like that. And it's no issue. Like again, nobody, not they're one of us asked to be here, but they're here now,
Right.
and we talk about them. I go, hey, I got a nephew, I got a niece, which is the
Mhm.
Mhm.
coolest thing ever. I am super excited
Yeah.
about that. So we know we talk about those things, but I like you asked the question earlier, like in an ideal world, yes, we would have been able to put differences aside, but there was a lot of stuff happening during that time, and
Oh,
I don't blame my
absolutely.
mom for any of how things played down, because she had to do what was best for her and her kids, and that's fine.
And it's like when my
Mhm.
mom and stepdad met, they had 3 apiece, so they have 6 kids, right?
Hmm.
Then they had 5 more together, as if any more kids
Mhm.
is needed, but anyways, God bless them. But so,
Yeah.
the first 6 of us were so close, we kinda just all got together, like, raised these last 5, like, they were all our kids, right? Because they were already we're already together. So, a blended family, and you understand, like, that's what love does, right? We're all together,
Mhm.
whether they're his kids and my mom was our mom, but that's not how we were raised, right? And we never needed friends, girl, because there were so many of us. But we had good friends, thank God, coming up. But it was 11 of us. We were all each other's friends. Now, on the other hand, my dad remarried, and his new wife had 2 children, you know, but they were not his biological kids. But still, that didn't sit well with my mother. Although you have gotten with him and had 5 more kids. That didn't sit well with her. So she was not as nice to my stepmom, right, as I thought she could have been. But
Um,
she thought that he treated those kids better than the biological 3 he had with her, right? But ma'am, you moved us 1,000 miles away. I mean, mind you, that was your
yeah.
choice. So what is he supposed to do when he came and got us every summer, Christmas? He definitely took good financial, and I tell you all the time, he was definitely my financial savior. So, but
Yeah. Yeah.
because my mom didn't care for the woman and her kids, my oldest sister
Mhm.
kinda my oldest sibling kinda, like, didn't like the kids either. So it was like, I get what you're saying,
Mhm.
like, so it was kinda like a divide when my father remarried, because it's like, "Oh, you going to talk to them? Oh, you going over there? You going to their house?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So my sister
Yeah.
would go when we went home to the South. She would go stay at my grandma's because she didn't like the lady too much and
Hmm.
the kids. But I
Hmm.
would go to my father's house because if he loves them, I love them, and they treated me nice.
Mhm.
So I rock off of your energy. They never did
Yeah.
it. But I think in my oldest sibling's defense, she had an alliance with my mom, and she felt like if she liked them too much,
Hmm.
it would be disloyal to my mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that's
I
why I
think
Mhm.
think it's important for parents to make sure the kids understand you're just children.
right.
Don't make
Right.
them
Because.
decide. Don't make them,
Mhm.
yeah, don't make them choose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because
and
even for me with my siblings with my mom, my personality is totally different. Like I said, I came in saying you're gonna love me, you're gonna accept me, you're gonna whatever. But my
Hmm.
older sister and my brother, they never formed that relationship with,
See?
my dad's family and the siblings, and so there is a divide there to this day. because
Absolutely. Right,
they
right,
don't
right
operate the
now.
way I
It's
did.
like I'm an outcast. Even when my father passed, like these kids were distraught. And let me say my stepmom, which was their biological mom. Well, their father died in like the army years ago. So my stepdad married her. Their father was dead, and they were little kids. So he raised these kids, right? And then their mom
Mm,
died before my father. So my father continued to raise and nurture these kids, right? And then their kids became his grandkids. So when he passed, can you imagine the emotion they had, right? But
yeah,
my other siblings kind of like kind of outed them, like whatever, like, and I just felt so bad for them because I'm like, that was their dad just as much as it was. Matter of fact, they spent more time with the man than we did. You know what I mean?
yeah, yep.
So I think it was
Mhm,
almost an animosity and I don't know. I don't know. All I know is to this day, like you said, Shannon, it's strained. And I still
mhm.
think that all of that could have been curbed had the adults ensured that we spent a little more time together. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I get
As
that.
kids.
I also wanted to just put a little shout out to my dad. He
Oh,
when he gave us two extra brothers and a sister, and he has been phenomenal. When my mom and dad got married in '97, he raised us like we were his own.
mm,
And now it's only two of us here still in Buffalo, and it's the oldest girl and the baby boy. So just shout out to all the dads that you know really step up and
Absolutely.
father
yes.
children that aren't biologically yours. I know I'm not biologically his, but I make sure that when I had kids, I instilled the same values that he instilled in me.
Mhm.
And even by giving my youngest one his middle name, so that was super special for
Oh,
me.
that's awesome.
Aw.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Blended families,
beautiful.
honey. Blended
yeah.
families. That's what
Uh-huh.
we do for love, right?
Listen, and they worked.
Yeah.
Okay,
They work.
they work when you put work
Yes,
into it.
that's
That's it.
right.
Shannon, do you have
Mhm.
anything else to add on our blended
Mm,
parents making kids work overtime tonight?
no, I'm loving it. Nope.
Okay, so I think we can wrap up tonight's topic then by saying, parents, don't bring your personal loads into your children's relationship if you can help it. And then you have those parents just flat out refuse to compromise. It's okay. You do your best.
Yeah.
Um, children have no choice in coming here, nor what family they're born into. But if they have a sibling with a parent, who you're no longer dating, or if you're, not married any longer, if you're divorced, or if you like Usher, and you find out your side piece got one on the side, don't blame it on the kids. Try to keep the
Mhm.
kids together. None of that is the fault of the children, right? Always allow those
Right.
children to blend peacefully whenever possible. That's what we do for love. All right.
Love it.
I think it's time for our audience invite, baby mama. All right.
Right.
So, audience invite is here. The title of last week's song was Things a Man Ought to Know, and the artist was Lainey Wilson. If you recall, last week's topic was reigning without responsibility. And that song implies that before you want to be the boss, there are simple things you should at least know before wanting to be in charge. And when you listen to the whole song, you'll also realize that she's saying those are things she can do on her own. This the simple things. So that's not a reason
Mhm.
she needed a man, But it's pretty deep and it has a few moving parts. So do your part, guys, and make sure you listen. As promised, we're going to give you some flavor in your ear this season in all forms and fashion. Okay. So if you
All
were
right.
digging last week's song after you listen, or if you can guess the song tonight that I dropped the lines to, hit us up at wifeyandbabymama at gmail.com. This is your official invite to email us at wifeyandbabymama at gmail.com. All right,
All
baby mama,
right.
you got a fictional family for us?
I do, but before we go into our fictional family, I want to give a shout out to the people in France. I want to say they are at the top now. They have knocked down
Wow.
Brazil and
Are you kidding?
Germany and the UK. Yes. So
Okay,
whoever's
France.
out there in
Wow.
France,
Parlez-vous
we
français?
appreciate. Yes.
Right, Lexi. That part.
Right. Love it. Love it. Love it.
We
So when
love
I
it. We
see these
welcome all of our
numbers,
new listeners.
yeah, see these numbers climbing, it is It's good for the ego.
And it's good to, it's good to come on here, as like you said, as moms,
Yeah.
wives, entrepreneurs, to get on here
Yeah.
every Thursday because you guys are so faithful. And we know that we're
Yeah.
making a difference. So even when we've been
Mhm.
snowed in for a week in Buffalo, we can still get on with a smile, right, Lexi? And come talk
That's
to the
right.
people.
That's right.
So thank you,
Yeah.
France, and everyone who's
Yeah.
listening.
Oh, yes, to everyone. All right. Now on to the fictional family I am feeling. The fictional family I'm feeling tonight, they are the Pearsons from This Is Us, which ended actually, the show ran until 2022. But the scene I want to talk about is with the big three. If anyone has watched the show, you
I
know
love
who the
that
big
show.
three are. They're the kids. Yeah. So Sterling K. Brown, who plays Randall, Justin Hartley, who's Kevin, and then their sister, Chrissy Metz, who plays Kate. And um, Randall is black, and Kate and Kevin are white because Randall was adopted. For those of you who don't know the show, um, so the scene I
I'm
want to talk
guilty.
about, you're guilty of not knowing the show, Sean.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Okay,
sorry, baby.
well,
Go ahead.
Oh,
that's
you gonna have to
okay.
come over and watch it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So the scene I'm gonna touch on is actually the from the finale, the final scene. So they had lost their father, several years earlier, and now at the finale they lost their mother. And they're sitting on the porch, the three of them. And Kevin, he says, we don't have parents anymore. And Kate says, we still have parents, they're just not here, And he's like, yeah, but you know what I mean. And um, and they're like, what do we do now? We're lost without our family. And Kevin says, we do what we're supposed to do, or Kate and Kevin, we do what they've always wanted us to do. We live and we live fiercely. And she wants to open up schools for the blind. Um, and Kevin says he just wants to work for a nonprofit and stick around his home because he worked a long time to get a home, and now he really appreciates the fact that he has a home. And then Randall, their adopted brother, says he's going into politics and so on and so forth, and going to rule the world, become president or whatever. Mhm. And then Kate says, I want to tell you all, something that I'm fearful of, something, or my nightmare. And she says, I feel like without mom or our parents, we're going to drift apart. We're just going to drift apart. We're going to get busy with our lives, and there's no one here left to hold us together. Like we've all experienced that, I'm sure. Like when Big
Mm-hmm.
Mama dies or Grandmama goes away, sometimes family
Absolutely.
falls apart. And she says, I just don't want that to happen. And Randall, Sterling K. Brown, he says, we're not going to drift. And then Kate says, well, if we could, that could happen. And then they're all silent. They're sitting there. And then Randall says, you all want to know a secret. He says, if someone asks me to picture my family, he says, I don't picture my wife and my kids first. He says, I
Mm-hmm.
picture mom, dad, and you two, my brother and sister. He says, you are my family. He says, that's what I picture first. And Kevin and Kate say, we picture the same, the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. And they're just amazed that they all have that same, common thought. Um, and then Kate says, do you remember, what they always would say? What mom and dad would always say. First came, and then Kevin said me, which is Kevin's the oldest. And mom and dad said, gee. And then came, and Kate said me. And Kevin said, and mom and dad said, we. And then Randall, they said, and then came, and then Randall said me. And they said, and then the mom and dad said, that makes three, the big three, which is
Mm.
the theme throughout the whole thing. And they give each other, love, and, and they laugh and they sit there contented that they are the big three. And that's one thing. or the point of this fictional family is, even though they weren't all blood, just like the siblings we've talked about tonight, the parents need to understand when they're gone, if they've created, the foundation for these siblings to remain together so that they don't drift apart, when they're dead and gone, that benefits their children when they're no longer here. And all of these guys are, adults with families and all of this. And the problem is not to drift apart. And at the very end, Randall says to Kate, he says, if you do drift, we're drifting after you. We're coming after you. And that's what we want. We want to make sure, even if someone starts pulling away, someone goes for them, pull them back in, or we all go for them and pull them back in, because
That's right.
that's the point of being a family. And when our parents and, uh, uh, bonus parents, step
Elders.
parents, or
Hmm.
whatever, yeah, when they get together, like Alexcia said, we didn't ask to be here. No, we did not. So, parents, make sure they stay together, stick together so that there isn't that drift.
And they're not working overtime, when they get older
Mhm.
once you're gone, to stay
That's right.
together or form a bond. It's a great fictional family.
Exactly.
I'm sorry I never
Yeah,
watched that show.
I'm in tears over here because I didn't see the finale, and I'm like,
Oh.
Oh
ah.
my goodness, Lexi.
Listen, that show is amazing. You cry every
Yes, it
episode.
is. Yes, you do.
Every episode. Just buy stock and Kleenex at this
Yeah.
point.
That's
Oh,
right.
Oh goodness.
So, yes. So that is the fictional family I am feeling tonight.
awesome.
That's a
I
good
love
one.
it.
That's a good one.
That was great. That
Oh,
was great. She always nails it,
thank you, thank
Lexi.
you, thank
I
you.
enjoy that.
All
All
right.
right.
That is our show for tonight. We want to thank you all for joining us and our special guest, Alexia. And we want you to come back as many times as you want.
Well, you
We
let
As
me
enjoy your
many
know.
times as you'd
energy.
like.
Yeah.
Listen, you let me know. We'll put the kids on, put Bluey on. We good.
Thank you, Lexi. I appreciate you so much, honey.
Oh,
And
I
thank you all
appreciate
for joining
you.
us again this week. Until next week, love you all.